Introducing YouTube memberships, a fun way to support the channel while getting some exclusive perks. Click the join button to become a member now and get benefits like badges next to your name on videos, behind-the-scenes photos, advantages during the live trivia game, discounts on merchandise, private one-on-one video chats, the ability to request future video topics, and exclusive 8 to 10 minute videos on the history of the NFL. And now, on with our feature presentation. September 10th, 2023. It's opening day of a brand new NFL season, and we've got an interconference battle on our hands over at Gillette Stadium up in Massachusetts, between the New England Patriots and the Philadelphia Eagles. Even though these teams may be in different conferences, there is no love lost between the sides, seeing as they met twice in the Super Bowl, and seeing as Philadelphia and Boston are just generally not friendly to each other when it comes to sports. For the Eagles, this game is a chance to defend their NFC Championship and to start the season off on the right foot, following a fantastic 2022 campaign that came up just a play or two short of the Vince Lombardi Trophy. Jim Nantz and Tony Romo were on the call for CBS, so you know it's a marquee game and a highly anticipated game, as people wanted to watch one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl start their season off. The good news for the Eagles is that at first, it looks like they're about to blow the doors off of the Patriots, as after one quarter, they lead at 16-0, thanks to a pick six and a strong defensive effort where the Eagles forced 2 turnovers and a 3-and-out on the Pats' first 3 drives. The bad news is that, well, they can't exactly keep that momentum going. Offensively, after points on their first 2 drives, they failed to pick up a first down on their ensuing 5 drives to end the half. And even when the second half starts, the most they can muster up on a drive is a field goal. And the Pats offense, despite an absolutely atrocious start, begins to find somewhat of a rhythm, scoring 3 times to get right back in this game when just about everyone wrote them out at the end of the first quarter. Even though the Eagles were still winning, leading at 25-20, they were definitely on the ropes, especially after a Jalen Hurts fumble gave the Pats the ball in Philly territory. However, it seemed as though the crisis would be averted when the Eagles' defense came up big and forced a 4-and-out, getting a huge stop on 4th and 17. Now, the Eagles have the ball with 2:20 left. 1 first down, and this one is over. 1 first down, and after a tough battle to say the least, and after a battle that was a lot harder than many people may have initially thought, you walk out of here victorious, and you walk out of here 1-0. The Pats burned their first 2 timeouts after 2 runs by Kenneth Gainwell pick up 4 yards. And on 3rd and 6, when Jalen Hurts picks up 4 yards, the clock winds down to the 2-minute warning. The Eagles now have 4th and 2 at New England's 44-yard line. A field goal is completely out of the question. It's a wet day in Foxborough, and even though we've seen Jake Elliott hit kicks from 61 yards before, this is not the time to try it. So you figure that they're going to punt the ball. This stacked defense is going to force Mac Jones and company to drive 80 or 90 yards down the field and win the game himself with minimal time left on the clock and just 1 timeout to work with. With that, let's see this punt. Or not. You're going to go for it? Okay, maybe this is just an attempt to draw them offside and get the free first down. And then if it doesn't work, you just take the delay of game penalty to give yourself a better chance on the punt of not booting it into the end zone for a touchback, since you're sort of in no man's land as it is. I could see the Eagles doing that. Oh crap, they're actually going for it. Well, this'll be interesting. Are you sure about that, Philly? Do you really think this is a good idea? Oof. Instead of punting the ball away, the Eagles go for it and give the Pats the ball near midfield, cutting off the distance needed to drive and pick up the game-winning touchdown in a stunning upset victory. And when I say that the decision was widely criticized by fans and by analysts, oh, I mean it. This is completely unedited. I went on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it and typed in Sirianni 4th and 2. And these were the results that came up. Literally every single tweet that popped up was negative and was questioning whether or not Sirianni had a brain. Heck, I even had one fan ask whether I would do a dumb decisions on this. And it does beg the question, why would you go for it here? Why on earth would you even try this? This feels like a dumb decision, right? However, I've got to defend Nick Sirianni here, because I would have done the exact same thing. Going for it on 4th and 2 is a decision that you can definitely make a defense for, and I'm going to do that here. Welcome to In Defensa. Let's dive right in. As always with something like this, I want to look at the risk and reward for both options, and evaluate the odds of success when it comes to that. Option 1, which is what Nick Sirianni ended up doing, is to go for it on 4th and 2. Now obviously, the risk is a big one. If you don't pick up the first down, you're giving the Patriots the ball at their own 44-yard line. And now, they only need 56 yards to drive down the field and score the game-winning touchdown. They've got pretty good field position, all things considered. Driving down the field 56 yards with 2 minutes left and a timeout is extremely doable. However, even though there's definite risk here, it's not as though this is a doomsday scenario. Sure, having the Pats start on their own 44-yard line is not ideal, but it's not as though they'd be starting in the red zone. It's not as though they only need to drive 10 yards to get the necessary points to take the lead. If you don't pick up the first down, you have to prevent the Patriots from driving 56 yards down the field. Prior to that point, New England had 12 drives. On 6 of them, they couldn't even so much as muster up a single first down. On their 5 drives in the second half, they only scored once. On their last drive, it was a 4 and out where they lost 7 yards. So even if you don't necessarily convert the first down, you've still got the upper hand. However, let's say that you do get the first down. Let's say that you pick up the requisite 2 yards and you move the chains and extend the drive. What's the reward? Well, you win the ballgame. Seriously, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The Pats have to burn their 3rd and final timeout, but with about 1:55 left in the contest and no timeouts left for the Pats, they can't stop the clock anymore. So you can just have Jalen Hurts take 3 kneel downs and get the heck out of there. So just to break down the risk and reward of this. The risk is that your defense has to stop the Patriots from driving 56 yards down the field with 2 minutes left, and has to stop a Pats offense that had struggled for most of the game. And the reward is that you win the game right then and there. You get a measly 2 yards in opponent territory, and that's the ball game. With very few exceptions, I will never fault the coach whatsoever for trying to do something to end a game. Barring something ridiculously stupid, like going for it on 4th and 35 on your own 5-yard line in that same time situation, if the reward for calling a particular play is that you win the game if it works, and it's a high percentage play, I'm usually going to be okay with it. And that's especially true when you realize that even though Philly's offense had definitely seen better days, that this is still the Philadelphia Eagles that we're talking about. In a 4th and short situation, I'm not sure there's another team in football that I'm taking over the Eagles in terms of who I trust the most. In 2022, the Eagles converted 27 4th downs when you combine the regular season and the postseason. That was by far the most in the league, and there wasn't even a team that came remotely close to that. Dating back to the playoffs, this was a team that converted their last 5 4th downs, most of which came in short yardage situations. During the regular season in 2022, the Eagles, with roughly the same offensive roster that they have today, converted on 68.8% of their 3rd downs, which was the 4th highest percentage in the league, only behind the Los Angeles Rams, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. If we include the playoffs, they were 27 for 37 on the season, converting 73% of the time. And remember, a lot of these failed 4th down conversions by the Eagles were on 4th and long where they had to go for it, which is not at all like the situation here, where it's 4th and 2 and the odds are way higher. Also, a good chunk of those failed 4th downs were with Gardner Minshew at quarterback, not Jalen Hurts. Basically, The reward for picking up the first down is that you win the game. And you've got a team that entered this game as maybe the best team in football, depending on how you want to look at it, at picking up said fourth downs. I like my odds a lot. And I like my odds even more when I consider this fact. The Patriots defense played well, but when it came to short yardage situations, the Eagles were handily winning the battle. Here's a look at every third down play where the Eagles needed 3 yards or less to get the first. In the first quarter, facing 3rd and 1, the Eagles give it to Kenneth Gainwell. He picks up 5 yards and a first down. That's one conversion on the day. Now in the third quarter, the Eagles are facing a 3rd and 3 at New England's 49-yard line, up 16-14. Kenneth Gainwell got the ball and ran 7 yards for the first down. That's 2 conversions on the day. Later in the third quarter, the Eagles faced 3rd and 3, and Jalen Hurts picked up 5 yards with his feet. That's 3 conversions on the day. Every single time the Eagles had a 3rd and short situation on the day, so 3rd and 4 or less, they converted and moved the chains and kept the drive alive. So faced with a 4th and short situation, considering the fact that their success rate on 3rd and 4th down on the day in a short yardage situation was literally 100%, I really can't fault Sirianni for pulling the trigger and going for it, especially when getting it ends the game. As for option 2, which is what a lot of people would have done in that situation, which is to punt the ball away, I get it. Believe me, I get it. The reward isn't that you win the game, but the reward is that you could absolutely pin them deep and make the Pats drive 90 or even 95 yards. Heck, even if it's a touchback and goes into the end zone, the Patriots still have to drive 80 yards down the field with 1 timeout and less than 2 minutes to play. I've talked about dumb decisions before and how the worst case scenario in one is sometimes equal to the worst case scenario in the other. Like when I talked about Mike Vrabel's decision to kick the field goal in the Saints-Titans game down by 4 with 2 minutes left. If you missed that video, you can learn more about that by clicking the card in the upper right corner. This is not one of those, obviously. The worst case scenario with a punt is probably a touchback, while the worst case scenario with not getting the 4th down is the ball at the 44-yard line. But is a 24-yard difference, when the Pats still have to drive more than halfway down the field, worth more than the difference in literally having the game wrapped up and still having to do something defensively? If you told me that you can win the game right here, but if you don't get it, you're starting off 24 yards worse than you would be otherwise, I'm taking that trade-off. And Nick Sirianni clearly felt the same way here by going for it. The reward outweighed the risk. And after the game, Sirianni didn't have any regrets about the decision to go for it, even if it didn't work out. Said Sirianni, I guess really the word, again, I'm going to say, is conviction. Conviction that our offense is going to succeed. Conviction that we'll call the right play to put them in position to make a play. And conviction, if we don't, that our defense will get a stop. I was convicted there. You know, it didn't work. Sometimes that's going to happen, that you make the call that you feel good about, but it's about the process that you put to get to that position. That there wasn't a hesitation in my mind because we have put ourselves in that scenario in the film room all week. We didn't execute. Translation? I believed in our team to get the first down, and if we didn't get it, I believed in our defense to stop Matt Jones and the Patriots from driving 56 yards down the field. That is a completely fair assessment, and it's one that I'm not going to criticize whatsoever, especially since the odds were clearly in your favor based on how the game had gone. Now, obviously, at the end of the day, this decision did not matter. The Eagles' defense got the stop, and the Eagles ended up winning the game. So this decision to go for it on 4th and 2 will just live on as a footnote, and won't live on in the same vein as, let's say, Bill Belichick's decision to go for it on 4th and 2 against the Colts in 2009, which ended up costing them the game. But look, whether the Eagles won this game or lost this game, whether they made that 4th and 2 or didn't make the 4th and 2, to me, it doesn't matter. When I do these series like dumb decisions and in defense of, I don't look in hindsight. I wholeheartedly agree with the decision by Nick Sirianni to go for it there, and I would still do it, even knowing what I know now. Look, it didn't work out at the end of the day. The Eagles got stopped, and they turned the ball over on downs at an inopportune time, and did so when they could have pinned the Patriots and their offense deep, and made it incredibly difficult and almost impossible for them to drive down the field and win the game. But I would definitely do it all over again. Because when you look at the conversion rate that the Eagles had on 4th down entering the season, and during this game in short yardage situations, when you look at the reward of it all, and when you look at the risk not necessarily being that much worse in the grand scheme of things than the risk of a touchback and the worst case scenario on a punt, this is one decision that you can definitely make a defense for. Get your official Jaguar Gear 9 merchandise by going to jj9shop.com, and be sure to like and subscribe, as it really helps the channel out a lot. Join me every Wednesday night where we'll play NFL Trivia for cash prizes at 9 p.m. Eastern over on Twitch. To learn more about the history of college football, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 8. To learn more about the history of Major League Baseball, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 7. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See how you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.